#1 LinkedIn expert in the Asia Pacific region. He actually hosts of LinkedIn Heroes and the CMO podcast. He is a really successful LinkedIn marketer and entrepreneur. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how to succeed in LinkedIn. So thanks for joining us, Nathaniel.
What a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Ash.
No problem. Let's talk about your background. Like, how did you get involved with LinkedIn?
Oh, look, I was in a sales role going back 6 or 7 years now. And I said to my employer, I said, what's the best industry that you can target in digital marketing? And he said plastic surgeons. So I was new to the role. So I tried door knocking. I tried, cold calling. Couldn't get it past the practice manager. So I hopped on a LinkedIn. I contacted 10 surgeons. I got 6 responses. I had 4 meetings and I made 1 sale. And I thought, there's a system, right? So next week, instead of contacting 10 surgeons, I contacted 20 and I made 2 sales. And so we scaled that business relatively quickly using LinkedIn as a lead generation tool. And then more recently, it's become a content platform, which, we've had to adapt and develop some new skills and resources.
So let's talk about the hacks or the tips that you did to use LinkedIn for sales side. Like, I mean, even if it's outdated a little, like, what are some things you could share that you did?
Yeah, look, I think that with the, like if you look in your LinkedIn inbox, you'll see a lot of sales letters from salespeople and recruiters and things like that. Most of the time, what they're doing wrong is they're making it all about themselves, what they can deliver. I'm the best SEO company. We've got all these companies at the top of Google. Yeah. These are all our awards, instead of actually showing interest in the person that they're sending it to. And that's fundamentally the main thing that people do wrong.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about the content side. I mean, what have you done that's worked well for you?
Look, content's been an interesting one. I think we've sort of been led down the path that if you get more followers, more likes, more engagement, more views, that's the goal. What I've found is when you focus on those sort of metrics, you actually dilute the quality of your audience. I think that what's worked really well for me is niching really hard on who my audience is, and then actually giving them practical steps that they can use to get an outcome. And then you build positive brand sentiment, and they want to buy from you because you've helped them already. I found on LinkedIn particularly, video, articles, even images have all worked really well. I think the key with video is you can build a relationship with the audience in a much deeper way than you can with written word. Like I was at the airport once and somebody came up to me and they said, "Hey, you're Nathanial Bibby. I watch your videos, man. I want to buy your coffee." Right? And I was like, "No, don't worry about it." He's like, No, I'm going to buy your coffee. I really want to buy your coffee. I was like, "Okay, sure. That's great." And I was sitting there drinking that coffee and I thought, no one's ever bought me a coffee off the back of a blog post, but off video they will, because of the level of connection.
Well, you have a very friendly face.
That's good to know.
And along those lines, though, about video, what are some things that you've done or seen that's worked well for people to market on video?
Sure. Well, like I'll tell you something I did wrong at the start is, I was trying to build my confidence. And so I got this awesome introduction video. And it's me walking down the street by the beach. I've got sunglasses on, pictures of me speaking, and I thought it looked awesome. The hip hop music's going. But what I was finding is a lot of the audience was like disappearing before I even got to the content. Because the audience is there to get the content. So it's actually, you got to put the value right up front. So that people know exactly what they're getting. And I think each video should only focus on one key outcome. I think if it's more than that, it confuses the audience. You've got to know what you want your viewer to get out of the video, because if you don't know, how are they going to remember it? You're not going to remember it. So that's one thing. The other thing is storytelling. I think storytelling is a huge part of what I'm focusing on in 2020, because storytelling is what is going to make people remember your content. Because if you can attach emotion to what you're saying, it's a very different ball game than if you're just basically giving them step by step some practical tips. Because if they connect with their heart, that's where they're going to remember it.
I love that. Connecting with your heart. That's really cool. Where did you learn this? Like, did you have a mentor tell you this? Did you follow someone or still follow someone?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking at what's happening in the research world online, reading blogs and things. There's a couple of mentors which in the marketing industry I look up to. Seth Godin's a big one. Gary Vaynerchuk's another one. I mean, even I learned a lot from Tony Robbins. So I mean, there's a whole host of people, and then I kind of test it and see what works for me, and then I communicate it to my audience.
Okay. Along those lines, let's talk about LinkedIn and like where you see LinkedIn going in 2020. Like, what are your thoughts on content and specifically since I found you through your content? I reached out to you obviously because I love the content that you're doing.
Thank you.
What is you're welcome. What are some of the thoughts that you have about LinkedIn content on that side?
Okay, so LinkedIn is doing an absolutely fantastic job of serving people good quality content in the newsfeed. It's and as creators, it's awesome. We can get this organic reach. However, it's still quite basic. There's a lot of content creators that are manipulating the algorithm. I'm talking about things like engagement pods and stuff like that, where the content may not have the value itself, and so they're going out and liking and commenting on other people's stuff so that they can get give some value that way and get some engagement back. So hacking the algorithm. And I think that sort of thing is going to die down because LinkedIn's engineering team have got the amount of people that are involved in creating that algorithm. It's a little bit like, I'll tell you a quick anecdote. Was it 10 years ago, even 15 years ago, I remember getting to a website to the top of Google, using this backlink strategy, and then Google updates its algorithm, and all of a sudden the website that I got to page number one on Google, went to page 100 overnight. Wow. And so I always think that if you're not acting with integrity, if you're trying to manipulate algorithms, search engines, or try and find short-term hacks, that eventually you're going to get unstuck, and you won't be able to do that forever. So I think that's what's going to change, and that's going to be a good thing for the consumer. At the end of the day, LinkedIn wants to give its users a good experience. So I think if content creators focus on delivering that, you can't really go wrong.
What about on the side for brands, like brands who want to market better on LinkedIn?
Yeah, the advertising on LinkedIn's, it's just getting better and better all the time. It's got to be the right type of company, of course, but the quality of the leads, people trust LinkedIn 3 times more than any other social channel. So, who cares if it's a little bit more expensive? If they trust the ads on there 3 times more, that's huge.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that advice. And before we sign off, first off, I want to thank you for this interview. I know it's last minute and we had reached out, and dude, sage advice, and I can't wait for the feedback people are going to get from it.
Yeah, cool. That's been a lot of fun.
What are you up to now? Tell us about some of the stuff you're doing if you want to share with the audience.
Yeah, I'd love to. We got some awesome events coming up that I'm excited about in Perth and Melbourne, Australia, to do with social selling and LinkedIn marketing. I love being able to deliver the value to an audience, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So there's some events coming up later in the year that you'll see me posting about from time to time. So if anyone's down under in Australia, I'd love to see you at a couple of those events.
Okay, cool, man. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.